I just thought, at least to begin with, just to open it up and just reflect a bit on today, or on how seeing works in your life. Whether you've any reflections to share about how it, how it works out in your life. Any thoughts?
I think that the hardest part is just to keep being aware of it. You know, you get caught up in your day-to-day and your work and your surroundings and family, and then just every now and then you think, oh gosh, you know, and it's usually perhaps something that's a bit distressing, like you say, that brings you back into it. You know, that seems to be a motivator to become more aware of that space. But if you're sort of doing everyday type jobs and things, you seem to be less aware of it.
What do you think might help you be more aware of it?
Tying something around my finger.
Right. Some reminder of it. Right.
The elephant never forgets.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, that's a basic question, isn't it? How do you remain aware of this, or more aware of this? How do you?
I found it very helpful to plug into the practicality of this, actually. I mean, a lot of what takes you away from it, as you said, are everyday things and tasks, and I've noticed that, well, one of the first things I read about this with Douglas was saying anything you do is better done from this perspective. So I decided to see if that was true.
Oh, no, yeah.
And so whenever I'm doing a task, and particularly a tricky task, but any task, or an onerous task, any task that I feel a little bit of resistance to, or a little bit of anxiety about, that for me acts like an alarm clock, and I go to here, and then I act from here. And that's been a real help to me, because my organism really gets that that's a good thing to do. And it takes a little while for the organism, to the intelligence of the body and the mind and so on, to clue in to how useful this is. It tends to take a little while for that. It did with me anyway. So that, I mean, that may be something.
Soon after you were here last time, I was looking after a farm in Donnybrook. And I found everything was wonderful when dealing with ordinary situations, humans, but as soon as you tried to deal with horses or cows or whatever, sheep, it all went out the door. Because I was trying to force them to do what I wanted. And it was only after a long time, a couple of months, that I managed to let go of it all. And then it all seemed to work out. But not as well, just let go of me trying to force them into doing whatever it was. And they started, yes, they started guiding me in the letting go, sort of. Or I was more observant of their needs rather than my needs.
It's kind of like trusting another part of you instead of your will.
Yeah.
I found that hard too, in that I kind of started to worry that I couldn't hold the past in decision making and stuff, so I would like try to get it, and then that was a lot of work. So then I was faced with the trust thing you're talking about, like actually trusting that I can make decisions without like pulling in, you know, the past. And I remember talking to a friend about it, because I was like, do you find that it's really hard because you don't kind of keep everybody accountable to their history all the time? You just keep meeting everybody fresh, and that's a worry. And she said, I find it really hard to hold them accountable. I said, I guess I have to trust my where I am with them at the moment, that will take care of the history. And I don't have to go, you know, you're somebody who, you know, does this or something. And so I've been practicing that more and more and getting more trust. But I was actually noticed I kept dragging myself. I have a lot of habits that are those habits, and I have to move over to like another way, like when you were saying with the cows and the horses, and actually like practice trusting that way and seeing it that
Because
way.
they know
It has
what
its
they want.
own way, but it's its own way, and it's different
That's
from
right.
the way I've been trusting.
Yes.
It's like another way.
Yes.
It's not the same way
And the whole
at all.
countryside has a sort of different rhythm,
Yeah.
which I wasn't really aware of when I first went there. And you have to just sort of stand back eventually. And if the tree falls, that's okay too. But
But it's another way.
mm,
It's like learning to ride a bike again. I was surprised. Yeah. And honesty. I'll do behavior because it's effective. I don't know. Sometimes my opinion about it is I don't like it. Or I have all kinds of opinions about it. I don't pay much attention to my own opinion about my own behavior. Well, that's really weird, even to me. You know, but I'm watching, oh wow, this works. Oh, okay, so whether I like it or not, I'm going to do this some more. You know, no matter what my opinion about it is, I'm going to do it some more. And some of it's surprising. You know, like giving my kid a hard time works, opposed to being nice to him. And which doesn't work. And that's like weird, because you're not taught, you know, you're taught something else. But I know I gave him a really hard time yesterday morning. And then he calls me up and he goes, okay, I realize I need to treat you like you're more important, and I'll take you to lunch. I go, God, it really pays off. Like, but I have all kinds of opinions about certain behaviors. But now I'm doing what's effective and beneficial, even if I think it should be another way. Kind of like with the cows. It's almost exactly what you said.
well, it's because it's that it's like the trust you're talking about is not that they've got to trust you. It's not only you trusting them, but they've got to
It's a dialogue.
They've got to trust you, and you've got to learn what they mean by their trust.
There's a level of engagement in
And
it.
it mostly revolves around food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But even so, they want it in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't got kids of my own, but I have noticed that kids really like having boundaries set for them. They really like to be told where to get off, and I've watched them testing the boundaries with parents, and if the parents have got a whole lot of Dr. Spock kind of ideas, it really stuffs that up.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah.
My just a thing on that. I've got a 15-year-old boy, and he's been having huge, long showers in the morning before going to school, and I got this massive, big gas account bill. You know, I said, this has got to stop. You know, and I'd try. You know, calling out to him, Jake, you know, you've been in there for 8 minutes now, that's enough. And I finally went to a shop and bought a timer, and, you know, insisted on it. And now, every time he goes into the bathroom, he sets the timer to 5 minutes, and, you know.
Kids understand that, and
Yeah.
they want to cooperate, but if they're getting kind of mixed signals, and if they can try and get away...
giving you mixed signals, but I can assure
Oh, no,
you
not in that case, but I mean...
But yeah.
It's like if you give them a clear boundary, they'll stick to it.
Yeah.
But I think you've also got to be, as they grow older, to change the boundary
Obviously,
and to move it out.
Yeah. You've got to...
If you keep them too confined, they go mad.
But there's a level, what you're saying, of trust in them,
Yeah.
like in the cows. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just all you.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
kind of learning how to engage in a different way.
That's right.
Me too. Another kind of engagement.
I find that I go into the one very effortlessly and easily when I'm with nature. I just find that I tend to move into that space of absolute stillness.
Why do you think that is?
Because I suppose just because it's a sort of an unfettered manifestation of the the creativity of consciousness. You know, I don't know. I mean,
That's one
just
of
the sheer beauty of it, just
Okay.
sort of,
It's the wonder.
yeah,
The
it just lifts you.
existence
Mm.
and the whole,
Yeah.
the whole. I mean, to sit by the ocean and just watch the sunset. It's just,
Yeah.
just watch the sun. It's just very strong.
I mean, like, there's so much of interest, and when you start actually looking at something, it's nothing like your preconceptions of what that might have been, or how a bird's behaving, or how the wind's sort of moving a branch, which is sort of reflecting in the water, and it's just visually, it's a natural. I don't know, it just brings the mind to rest, I find, effortlessly.
And it's a place where you can let go of the face game too. You don't need to keep up
Yeah.
you can be unguarded because it's a non-social sort of occasion.
Yeah.
Most of the things we find challenging, or I do anyway, are socially related.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were just thinking, Navi, there about keeping it going, as it were, remembering this, and what people find, how you remind yourself, really, or something like that.
And how it's impacted your life. How you actually are being faceless in your life, and what changes do you notice? How is that level of evolving? What's that look like?
But I wonder, like, even with, it's not as if you've actually got to be consciously aware of it all the time.
No.
I find in my life I get so many little wonderful synchronicities that I think, wow, like I must be on track, even if I'm not being totally conscious of it all the time. Like my forgettingfulness must actually be in tune with something as
That's what
well.
we were talking about before, and I think we've got this idea of permanent enlightenment as being, we've got this idea of enlightenment being this permanent state.
Starry-eyed sort of.
We had a
wow
friend
state.
in a Skype meeting recently who we showed, who joined us for the first time, quite clearly saw the space and said, yes, but I was looking for a permanent radical shift. So he's got this idea of what a permanent radical shift is, and it just didn't measure up, So.
No.
But you're right. You don't have to cling to it and be switched onto it the whole time. That's the beauty of it. That's what's wonderful about it. It actually is something. It's you. It's who you really are. So you don't have to be constantly. You don't have to. Like, I don't have to say, my name is Sam. My name is Sam. My name is Sam.
No.
But if you ask me, I'll know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have to kind of. I'm this. But if I look, oh yeah, that's right.
It's like Buddhavista's saying, before enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water. After enlightenment, chopping wood, fetching water.
Yeah, it's true. And it's because it's just such a natural state. And all you're doing is stopping overlooking it. You realise it's always been there. And you've just overlooked it and been preoccupied with other stuff. So.
But what she talked about this morning, overwhelming, getting less. I've experienced that a lot, because when I'm capacity, I'm not the little me trying to deal with the big universe and getting overwhelmed, because that can't handle the big universe inside its identity. There's a lot more room here. It's overwhelmed changes.
Yeah, that's true for me too. And I'm actually more courageous about letting myself be how I am. So if I am upset or anxious about something, I don't try and change that state. I'm just like, oh, that's what's in with you out now. So it's almost like weather now. It's a bit more personal than weather, but it's something that I don't have to put a lot of energy to not feel. It's just like, oh, that's how it is now. So it's almost like trusting who I am and how I'm set up, and just letting me be how I am as well.
Yes.
Rather than editing myself all the time.
Or correcting yourself.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's the wrong attitude, or shouldn't be feeling this and that. That's just like, oh, that's what's happening now.
It doesn't mean I act it out, but I'm noticing how much ill will I have every day, and
Yeah.
hatred and violence. So. And I just notice it, and it just comes and goes. And it's getting almost like my opinions.
Yeah.
Because I don't shove people when I want to, but I just notice I would love to. And I just notice I can't go, you know, I'm letting it be as it is more too.
Yeah.
Without making an identity around it. Oh, I need to be a good Catholic girl, and that looks like this. Without it having to look like something.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
In my head. That I got out of a book.
I mean, I've noticed sometimes recently where it's like, I think somewhere I've always had to say, well, I have to be happy, I have to feel good. And there's times lately where I'm just thinking, oh, I just feel pretty blah at the moment. And I'm just looking out going, yeah, that's how it is. And it's not a worry, it's not a problem, it's just like, oh, well, that'll change soon, because what's out there seems to change all the time, so.
And blah is restful. Blah is very restful.
Yeah.